Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. The past week or so of my life has been spent working away on this one acrylic painting. This painting is for an upcoming gallery exhibition that happens every year around this time. Members of the gallery can submit works based on a given prompt, and this year's prompt was 50 amazing years to celebrate the gallery's milestone, which is amazing and great. But the only downside to that is, at least for me, that it's a very tricky prompt to work with. But after some brainstorming, I had decided to paint a little memory I have as me as a child going to some of the art classes that were offered by the gallery. I do wish I had more time to prepare and do some trial and error and work with a medium I'm a lot more comfortable with, such as oil paints. But the gallery only released the prompt on like January 5th, and the deadline is January 25th. Which I double checked like 3 times because I'm like, this has to be an error, but they kind of do this every year, so maybe in the future I will revisit this concept and paint myself at this age with a little more creative freedom. For the time being, I am really happy with how this piece turned out, and honestly just how quickly I was able to put it together and how much freaking paint I went through. I went through almost all of my golden acrylics, at least the red and white, which makes sense. But yeah, really happy with how it turned out, and I'm glad it's over. Good evening. So I'm working on the painting. I printed out a little reference sheet. This is who I'm painting. This sweater is originally blue. I'm gonna try and make it pink. That's why it looks like that. So current time of filming, it's January 16th. Or I have to have it dropped off at the gallery by the 25th. So I have about like 9 days to do this, which I think is plenty of time. This is in acrylics, so I don't have to wait for it to dry. I think it's coming together pretty good. I'm nervous about the face because I think it looks okay right now, but I am gonna have to add more detail. And also, I don't think it really looks like the photo. I think it just looks like a different kid. I don't know. I think it's just the eyes I need to fix. I'm gonna keep painting for a couple more hours, I think. And then all of tomorrow is either going to be working on this painting, or I do need to get some homework done. So this is my first genuine attempt at doing an entire painting in acrylics. I mean, I've done painting with them before, but not recently and not really at this scale. So it was a bit of a challenge to adjust to the paint drying in like 2 seconds and the lack of smoothness like I would be able to get with oil paints. Another major hurdle was the colors. So I wanted to keep the colors very pink toned and like warm and orangey, but I'm way more used to high contrast and like blues and browns and yellows. So very out of my comfort zone, and if I were to do this again, I would keep the colors very natural and focus more on the colors in the face and the hair. I think also the position of the figure is kind of stiff and flat, so I would change it to something a little more active and maybe have her looking somewhere that isn't almost directly at the viewer. I would make it a little more of a scene and maybe do it a little more zoomed out so you can see kind of like more of the figure and kind of really have the scale show the age of the character, because I feel like with this one you can't really pinpoint how old I am in the photo because it's so zoomed in, which I should have caught from the beginning because I knew that I made a scaling error and I just forgot to fix it. I think in general I would want it to look softer and more like a memory, but I don't really know how to replicate that in acrylics like I know how to in oils, like technique wise. Like I know in oil paints I can kind of take a fan brush with a little bit of like linseed oil and maybe like a glaze almost, and just kind of lightly brush over some like semi-dry oil paint and then like go from there and like blend it a little. But with acrylics it's really difficult to do that because of the drying time, which that drying time really got to me, and I really think it's the major downfall of this painting. But anyways, I would give this painting like a 5 to 6 out of 10 in terms of like my satisfaction, but that is okay with me. Sometimes when you go out of your comfort zone, things don't go super well. Although part of me wants to restart and retry this painting completely in oil 3 days before the deadline, which I shouldn't do because that won't work out. I know that won't work out. So I'm holding myself back. I got to a point in this painting when I was really frustrated with how the background and the colors were looking. I think the fact that the acrylics dry so fast makes it like really difficult for me to keep the colors in the same like family and keep them cohesive, which I think led to some duller colors. And I was also feeling a lack of like creativity and a kind of overall blandness in the painting. So I took some of this really like bold red paint and did some kind of like radiating lines from the figure, and I think that just really gave it a boost in terms of like how nice it is visually. I did debate putting on some craft beads and like those like friendship bracelet beads scattered along the red lines, but I think it just looks a lot better with the plain red, and it really focuses the attention onto the figure in the center instead of kind of letting your eye wander to the blander spots that aren't as detailed in the background. Anyways, that is this painting completed. As always, it will be posted on my website along with all of my other painting projects and information on custom paintings as well. My Etsy shop is also linked in the description below as always, along with all of my social medias. And I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next video.